Action on what could happen today. I'm joined by Democratic Representative Dennis Kucinich of Ohio and Republican Representative Kevin Brady of Texas. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. Congressman Kucinich, let me start with you. The Senate is set to vote on the stimulus plan today. How effective do you think we have been collectively on a bipartisan basis of trying to work together?
Well, we've been wrapped up in ideological debates that are stale, and we've got an emergent situation we have to deal with. Government spending is stimulative, tax cuts less so. We need to get moving on this, and we need to do it yesterday.
Congressman Brady, the president last night laid out why this is dire for the economy. He said the consequences could be catastrophic. Is he overselling it, or is he selling it objectively?
Well, I think he's overselling it a bit. I don't know of any credible economist who believes that we're facing a permanent recession, as the president said yesterday. Now, to his credit, he wanted a bipartisan bill that focused on jobs. He got a very partisan bill that focuses on spending. I think most people believe when the economy is drowning, you need to throw it a life preserver, not build a 40-foot yacht to be delivered next year. More and more economists are worried that this bill's too slow, too expensive, and won't really rescue the economy.
All right, gentlemen, let's switch gears for a moment, because as we speak, we're starting to get some of the speech that Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner will give later on this morning at 11 a.m. Congressman Kucinich, the Washington Post tells it all. When the Washington Post, the headline says, new bailout may top $1.5 trillion. What do you make of that?
I voted against both bailout bills. I did it because I don't think government should be in the business of running private industry through using our capital. And unfortunately, these bailout bills have been given to banks which have hoarded the money or used it to take over other banks. The epicenter of the problem. Americans are caught in a downward spiral with respect to their homes. They're losing their homes by the millions. And if we don't come up with a plan to take controlling interest in mortgage-backed securities, to enable people to do loan modification, working out principal, interest, and the terms of payment, we're going to see millions of people lose their homes, and the underlying problem will not be addressed. I'm not a fan of bailouts, and I'm really in a show-me mood on this one.
Congressman Brady, Congressman Kucinich has a very important point here, and from what we understand, we're looking at $50 billion in foreclosure prevention as a part of this $350 billion. Some say it could be $100 billion, but the discussion about the details on how to modify those loans is something that will not be discussed for weeks to come. If this was the root cause of the problem, why isn't it the first thing we're addressing?
Well, I actually agree with Dennis on this. I think until we, A, force the bad bank loans to the surface and deal with them, and secondly, force the bad mortgages to the surface and actually deal with them, I don't think we're going to solve this crisis, of which we've already thrown more than $9 trillion at in the hopes to fix it. So, again, give us a plan that actually addresses that, and I think you'll see support for it.
The plan, Congressman Kucinich, is very complicated, multi-tier, very similar to what the Fed chairman is doing right now by offering all these different facilities for different levels of assets. We understand that there may be another $100 billion of capital injections, although this time the banks will undergo a stress test. Does that give you any more comfort, or are you concerned, as the Congressional Budget Office showed, that perhaps our money is not being spent wisely?
Well, it's not only a question of whether the money is being spent wisely or not. We have plenty of evidence that it's not. But we know that we still have a credit freeze. The banks are hoarding the money. They've used it to take over other banks or to fuel mergers and acquisitions. Now, I want to go back to the point that I made initially, that the epicenter of this problem is the subprime mortgage crisis and the deleveraging that took place as a result of the speculation in those mortgage-backed securities. We need to keep Americans in their homes, and the only way we can do that is for the government to take a controlling interest in the mortgage-backed securities and then do the workouts and loan modifications. We cannot, quote, encourage the banks to loan money. They're not going to do it. We have to take a different approach, and, while I'm certainly behind the administration on the stimulus, which should be, contrasted with the bailout, we really need to look at this whole thinking behind the bailout, because all we're doing is bailing out an economic system that has accelerated the wealth to the top and has kicked millions of Americans out of their jobs. Prime the pump of the economy to get people back to work.
Congressman Brady, we only have 30 seconds to go here. What do you want to hear the Treasury Secretary say today?
You know, I think you ought to spell out more of the insurance program. I think there are investors back home in Texas, for example, who want to buy some of these bad loans, and I think the right insurance program could actually encourage them to do that. There are willing buyers of these bad loans. I'm not sure there's willing sellers at the market price, so I'm going to be listening to that portion.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to leave it there. Congressman, thank you very much for joining me this morning. Of course, we'll be watching. All eyes will be on you guys for the next couple of weeks, that's for sure. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We will break down much more of what we're